die till he sees his place in Jannah. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Salatum wa salamun alayka ya Sayyidi ya Rasulullah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. Alhamdulillah Azza wa Jal, through the effort and help of our majlis of Jamia-tul-Madina, we have another opportunity to learn ilm deen. A moment which is spent in learning ilm deen is better than the nafli ibadat of whole day and whole night. As you know that the topic that we have today is Hubbe Dunya, is the love for this world. Sorry, the camera fell. Number two is hardness of the heart. If person is hard-hearted and he doesn't feel pity for anyone, he doesn't care about anyone, and he doesn't feel the pain of other people's suffering, then he got this sickness. And this is the sickness of the heart. And number three is the love for this dunya. If you love money, you love cars, you love houses, you love entertainment, as in young people, students especially, they have a lot of time to waste on games, playing things that would give them no benefit in this dunya and in the hereafter. All that is love for this dunya. And number four is the shortage of haya, that is to feel shame. So if you don't feel shame from any wrong things that you do, for example, if you are using vulgar language, you don't feel shame about it. You swearing, calling names, insulting people, and you are not ashamed of this. So that is a big sickness of the heart. And number five is the long hopes that, when I am 40, I'll do this. When I'm 60, I'll do this. When I'm 80, I will do this. You don't know when are you going to die. So instead of remembering death, person keeps on keeping high hopes. And number six is to oppress people excessively. So all these things that are mentioned, they are in Hadith Mubaraka. So one should try to avoid, if he finds any of these things in his mind, in his heart, then he should work hard to eradicate these diseases of heart. These are hidden diseases. Keep in mind that the love of dunya, which causes harm to hereafter, which causes harm to akhirah, that love of dunya is much condemned and criticized in the deen of Islam. The meaning of dunya is something that is near. Something that is near to you is called dunya. And dunya is called dunya because it is near to you in comparison to akhirat, in comparison to hereafter. Or it is called dunya because of the reason of pleasures and lusts. This is more closer to the hearts of the people. So for that reason, its name is dunya. The things of this dunya or this world are of three types. Dunya which gives you benefit of the akhirah, and you get benefit of it after death as well. And those are two things only. One is ilm, the knowledge, and the second one is amal. The amal means they are good deeds. Person worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with complete sincerity. And this type of dunya is commendable and it is good and much appreciated. And number two, those things that their benefit is limited to this life and there's no benefit of it in the hereafter. For example, to take pleasure from acts of sins, or even to fulfill certain needs from things which are jaiz, which are lawful, but no benefits of the akhirah. For example, acquiring a lot of plots or buildings, gold, silver, money, a lot of tasty, good, different foods, because it doesn't have any benefit of the akhirah. So this is also not appreciated. And then there are those things which are helpful to human being in this dunya. For example, necessary food and clothes, etc. This kind of dunya is also appreciated. But if these things are done just to have the pleasure of this dunya, then that too is criticized. And if it is just to fulfill the need, then that is fine. So the person must know what he is using and to what extent he can use certain things and with what intention. That is very important. When person takes something from this dunya for the betterment of akhirah, he will not be called dunyadar or worldly people, or worldly person. Rather, dunya would be regarded as farm of hereafter, akhirat ki kheti. So, whatever he will plant here, he will cut his crop in the hereafter. So, he is not regarded as person of this dunya or the lover of this dunya. He works to do his akhirat better. And if he attain things in order to get pleasure of this dunya from things, to entertain himself, to entertain his nafs, then he is regarded as dunyadar or worldly person. So we cannot just blindly judge people that this one is dunyadar or that one is dunyadar or talib or lover of this dunya until we don't know his intention, and intention is hidden. So therefore judging people should not be our work. Hazrat Sayyidina Ali Khawas rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi says, Dunya is the daughter of Iblis, the shaitan la'een. It means that person who loves this dunya, he is husband of the daughter of shaitan. So shaitan becomes his father-in-law. And because of his daughter, shaitan comes to that dunyadar person to meet him, to visit him very often, because he got a relationship now with him. So you cannot avoid shaitan, you cannot run away from shaitan if you are dunyadar, if you are talib and lover of this dunya. So if you want to be protected from shaitan, you should not have any relationship with the daughter of shaitan, that is this world. Hazrat Sayyidina Fudail bin Iyaz rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi has said that Hazrat Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma has said, on the day of judgment, a very ugly, blue-eyed old woman whose teeth would be forward totally. And that woman will appear in front of the people, and people will be asked, do you know this woman? People will say, we seek the refuge of Allah Azza wa Jal from knowing this woman. And it will be said to them, this is the same dunya that you used to be proud of, and because of this dunya, you used to break relationship with people because they're not your class or maybe they're poor. So you then break ties with them. And you used to be jealous of each other because of this dunya, and you used to have enmity with each other because of this dunya. And this old woman will be then thrown into the hellfire, and she will scream and she will say, oh my Lord, where are those who followed me? And where is my group? And where is my jama'at? Allah Azza wa Jal will order that those who followed this dunya, they must also join this dunya in the hellfire. Rahmat Alam Noor Mujassam, our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, Dunya is sweet and green. So whoever eats from it with halal way, using the halal medium, and he spends this dunya on the rightful things, Allah Azza wa Jal will grant him thawab of that. And Allah Azza wa Jal will cause him to enter paradise. And the one who earns from this dunya through the haram medium, and he spends that money on unlawful things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put him into Darul Hawan. And Darul Hawan means a house of humiliation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the love of this dunya, because this is very dangerous, as we have learned from many narrations. Hazrat Allama Abdul-Nabi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayh writes in the commentary of this Hadith Mubarakah in Fazul Qadir, and he says, we learnt that dunya on its own is not criticized, because this is the farm of the Akhirah, the cultivation of the Akhirah. So therefore, a person who uses this dunya with the permission of Shariat, mean in accordance to Shariat, this will help him on the Day of Judgment. Hazrat Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Naimi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayh says that anything that will make you neglectful from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and anything that is cause of displeasure of Allah Azza wa Jal and His beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that is dunya. As far as bringing up your children, looking after them, arranging food for yourself and for your family, buying clothes, having a house, while refraining from disobedience of Shariat, this is the sunnat of Anbiya, this is not dunya. In other words, Mufti Sahib Rahmatullahi Ta'ala explains that even though in the dunya we need certain things, we need to look after our families, we need to bring our children up, you need resources for all these things, you need to have a house, but all that must be attained without violating any law of Sharia. Then that part of dunya is good, because Anbiya alayhimus salam also did that, and this is the sunnah of Prophets alayhimus salam. Dearest students of Jamia-tul-Madina particularly, and other Zummedaran who are listening to this bayan, keep in mind that the status of dunya is like that person who is a rider of a horse or a camel, and he takes some rest under the shadow of a tree, and after resting a while, he leaves that tree and he leaves that shadow, and he starts his journey again. So if any person sees this dunya in that way, that this dunya is just temporary and I'm here to take a little bit from it for my needs, and then thereafter this is not my destination, I must leave it, and I must move forward. And if a person thinks that way, his heart would not fall in love with dunya. Dunya is like a snake. Like when you touch a snake, it's very soft. Its skin is very delicate, but its poison will kill you. It will take your life. So are you ready to take permanent pain just because of temporary benefit? This is the question that everybody should ask from himself. Yes, an intelligent person would not make this deal that we take permanent pain and suffering because of temporary benefit. Also, a person who walks in the water, his feet will never stay dry. So similarly, a person who has love and mahabbah and closeness with dunya, he will never be saved from the musibat and the calamities and the afat of this dunya. The love of this dunya will finally destroy the lazzat of ibadat, the taste of ibadat and the sweetness of ibadat. Many people we find that they're very pious, they work very hard to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but then slowly everything goes away because the love of dunya increases, and then they don't find taste anymore in ibadat. They don't find lazzat and they don't find sweetness in ibadat anymore. Then they find it very hard even perform salah. Ulama Ikram have said that the example of lover of dunya, the talib of dunya, is like that person who wants to drink the water of ocean in extreme thirst, and that water increases his thirst more. So this is the example that when you desire dunya, as it is mentioned in Hadith Mubarakah, that human being, Ibn Adam, and this refers to this talib dunya, if he is given a valley full of gold, a valley full of gold, he'll desire for another one. And if he is given the second valley full of gold, he'll desire for the third one. Only the soil of qabr, the soil of grave, will fill his stomach. Which means that while a talib dunya, a person who loves dunya, or the pleasures of dunya, the luxuries of dunya, the comforts of dunya, till he is living, he will never stop. No matter how old he might become, he still wants more. And also, it is mentioned in Hadith Mubarakah that dunya is a maita. Dunya is a dead, stinking animal. And the lover of dunya is a dog. So we have to draw a line to understand, are we human beings or are we dogs? And if everyone ponders upon himself, he would get the answer to which community they belong to. Dunya is a deceiver. It gives dhoka and it makes the iman weak. Normally you will find the dunyadar people, when it comes to matters of iman, they sacrifice iman and imaniyat very quickly. They do not stand up firm because of the love of dunya made them weak in iman. So if we want our hereafter to become better, then we need to ponder upon this and understand that if we are weak in iman, then definitely our hearts are filled with love and mahabba of this dunya. And a person who becomes very busy and involved in dunya, he becomes neglectful from the akhirah. And we find that very often people in business, they're in jobs, they're in works, they're earning a lot of money, they're living good life, they're all the time busy with work, and when they are free, then they take some holidays and then they are gone from one country to another country. All the time is spent in ghaflat, in carelessness, just making the nafs happy, just fulfilling their desires, because they kept themselves so busy with dunya. So then akhirat is forgotten and there is no pain making life good in the hereafter, which is permanent. And they are ready to take permanent sufferings because of short-lived benefits and pleasures of this dunya. Dunya is a guest house. In order to keep yourself as happy in this dunya, you must regard yourself as a traveler. If you regard dunya as a permanent place to live, and if you have given your heart to dunya and you fell in love in this dunya, then at the time of departing from this world, the pain would increase and it would be very difficult. Ulama Ikram have mentioned that person who has a lot of wealth of this dunya, lot of properties, lot of buildings, lot of assets, and when he is in sakrat and he can see that he is dying, it's very painful for him to know that his ownership is going away now. He is now leaving everything. He will not be able to collect rent from this building anymore, from that building anymore. Or he will not be able to enjoy this palace and that palace and this mansion and that house. He will not have any of these pleasures that he was getting. So it's very painful for him. But on the other hand, the person who lived like a musafir, a traveler, he does not carry the whole house with him when he is traveling. He takes necessary things, few sets of clothes, maybe a toothbrush, a toothpaste, maybe a few tablets, a pair of shoes, and a small bag. Because if he carries too many things, he'll make his journey very difficult. An intelligent, smart traveler is that who takes minimum things with him. So he doesn't burden himself with a lot of weight. And this is how the scholars have seen the dunyadar. The dunyadar carries too many things with him. So his whole journey is difficult and his departure is also difficult because he's leaving all that. And a person who carries minimum with him, it would be easy for him because he sees he's not leaving anything that his heart was attached with. So his departure from this dunya will become easy. So dearest students of Jamia-tul-Madina, you are becoming ulama, you are becoming scholars, you are becoming leaders. You have to lead people on the path of Shariat, on Sirat-i-Mustaqim, on the path of Ruhaniyat. If your own character is like the lover of dunya, the talib of dunya, and trying to attain dunya and dunya and dunya, then imagine what would be the condition and the situation of the nation, the Muslim Ummah. We as scholars, as ulama, we have to represent the character of our beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Khulafa Rashideen, Aimma Arba'a, Awliya, Salihin, the great ulama, and especially those who belong to Dawat Islami. People want to see Maulana Ilyas Qadiri, Damat Barakatuhumul Qudsiya, in your personality, in your character, because they come close to Dawat Islami when they look at the beautiful character and akhlaq of Amir Ahl Sunnah Damat Barakatuhumul Qudsiya. And we, after graduate, after we qualify, after we become imam of a masjid, or teacher of a madrasa or jamia, our love for dunya increased. And we feel we're not satisfied in our own field. Just because we are not earning like somebody else, just because our income is less, just because we can't afford to buy this or we can't afford to buy that, then of course we have deceived our mission. We are people of mission. Students becoming ulama, you belong to a mission. Your mission is not to pile up money, gold, silver, pounds, dollars, rands, rupees. Your mission is to guide people so they can become successful when they close their eyes, when they leave this world. So please, while you are in Jamia, keep these things in mind, that why you are in Jamia. Why are you here? Why are you studying this course? Why are you becoming alim? You have the potential to become a doctor, to become engineer, to become lawyer, accountant, where you could earn a lot of money. But you and your parents have decided that you want to become alim, so you can be a reason for intercession, for shafa'at of your parents and your relatives and your students and people who benefit from you, because ulama will make shafa'at of countless people. As it is the mafhum of ahadith mubarakah that on the day of judgment, when people are gone to their destinations, whether to Jahannam or to Jannat, accountability has taken place, ulama would be stopped and they will be asked that take your students with you and go to Jannat. And students means here whoever benefited from your knowledge. Even those who come for Friday and listen to your bayan, they are also your students. They're learning from you. They attend your dars. They attend your dars Quran, dars Hadith, dars fiqh. You answer questions, you're educating them. You write articles, you're educating them. You write books, you're educating them. So in whichever way you have educated people and they benefited from you, take all of them with you and go to Jannat. So don't ever change your focus. Always keep your mind. Who are you and why are you here? And what were your initial niyat when you came into Jamia? Don't change your niyat. Shaitan will force you to change your niyat. And Shaitan will lead you to spend your time in games, in playing on PlayStations, on mobile phones, on TVs, on laptops and iPads. These things are there to help you to educate yourself, to improve your knowledge. But then Shaitan comes and puts these ideas and your nafs is too happy. In young age, O my students of Jamia-tul-Madina, understand the tricks of Shaitan, understand the tricks of nafs, and keep your focus on your study. Learn every day's work properly. Do your homework properly. Do not make excuses and then leave your classes. Because when you grow up, you are going to regret if you were neglectful when you were in this age of your study. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all our students hidayat, and may Allah give all our students strength that they can understand these matters, and the love of dunya should not touch the hearts of all our Jamia students, so they can live in this dunya as men of Allah, because this is how the nation, the community sees you. They see you as men of God. And when they see evils happening from your character, from your personality, the greed, the love for money, love for big houses, big cars, most expensive mobile phones, technology, this thing, that thing, then people, they might not come and tell you something, but they would know and understand that you're not a man of Allah. Then the effect of your personality, your words will go away. So be an effective person, be a person who is able to influence the community and change their minds and hearts. May Allah bless you all. Jazakallah for joining in this session. Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. Bijahin Nabil Ameen Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sallu ala al-Habib Sallallahu Ta'ala ala Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Salatun wa salamun alayka ya Sayyidi ya Rasulullah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habib Allah.